Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video we have my complete Game Week 10 guide. I'll be discussing some of the best players to bring into your teams and also some of your other dilemmas as well. If you do enjoy today's video, please do smash that like button, and if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe as well. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So guys, let's start by discussing the man on the thumbnail and a player that is probably being underrated in general, but a few people are starting to wonder whether he is an FPL asset, and that is Declan Rice, up at 6.7 million. He's actually 6.6 at the time of recording, but looks like he'll be going up in price tonight. Still only 13.3% owned, and I can understand. Gyökeres just isn't doing it. Saka's very expensive, and as much as double Arsenal defence at the moment does feel very obvious, a lot of people won't want to triple up or can't really get there, and maybe you do have a midfield slot right now that's got someone like Tijani Reinders in, or maybe Anton Stack and you have the money to go up. Declan Rice is very cheap as a route into the Arsenal attack. Now, the first thing we need to say is we need to wait for an update on his fitness and make sure that he's definitely fit and available for Game Week 10. But let's go on the basis that we think he is. We see him in training, which we might not with Arsenal, but we think he's good to go. Is he an FPL asset? The short answer for this is yes, he absolutely is. He's doing it this season. 6.28 FPL points per 90. 4 assists so far this season, 1 goal. He's hit defensive contributions on 2 occasions. I will just say, great that he's hit it twice, but that's in 9 game weeks, and he's averaging less than 8 defcon per 90. So the first thing to note on Declan Rice is there are lots and lots and lots of players that are better for defcon, and I don't necessarily think you should buy him thinking, well, because he's a little bit defensive and he's quite physical, he'll get you defcon on a regular basis. He'll certainly hit it, but not too often. But the real reason you want to own him, as well as obviously them playing Burnley in Game Week 10, is that Arsenal, the whole narrative around them right now, is about their set pieces. I was actually just having a look on Fantasy Football Hub at their stats, so I'll bring it up here. So in terms of corners, they've had 67 corners in 9 games. The team in second, well, 2 joint in second, is Spurs and Chelsea on 56. Then when we look at total free kicks, Arsenal are top, joint with Everton with 16. Then we look at free kicks direct, not as many. They're actually all the way down. They've only had 2. So basically, they are in a position right now where they are playing for corners and playing for free kicks where they can cross the ball. That's the first thing. So lots and lots of them, but that sometimes isn't enough. If you have watched Arsenal this season, I would go as far as saying Declan Rice might have I don't know if I want to say the best delivery in Europe. I probably don't watch enough of the other leagues, but certainly for me, in the top 2 or 3 players in the Premier League for delivery, every single cross is pinpoint. Whichever side it's from, whether it's one that he whips in, whether it's along the floor, just every single delivery from him is so good. It's the same with Bukayo Saka as well. Yes, we absolutely praise the Arsenal setup from set pieces. We praise how good Gabriel is in the air, but you have to give a lot of credit to Rice and Saka. But anyway, I guess what I'm getting at here is without the set pieces, Declan Rice isn't really an asset. And even with the set pieces, I will note that his underlying data isn't perfect, right? 0.11 non-penalty expected goals per 90. That means he'll get an expected goal every 10 games or so if he plays 90 minutes. That's really not good enough. You need a lot more from someone in terms of open play goal threat. And even with those brilliant set pieces, his assist threat isn't perfect, right? 0.23 expected assist per 90. Now, I do think that expected assist is one of the more flawed metrics that I look at in my videos, simply because if he crosses it onto Gabriel's head from like 6 yards out, that will be like a 0.3 XG chance. Rice crossing a ball at 100 miles an hour into Gabriel's head from 6 yards out at the moment feels like it should be 0.9 XG chance. So I guess what I'm saying is I think his creativity is absolutely spot on. 4 assists so far. I think he'll get a ton more assists this season. And I do think because of the extra point for a clean sheet, which by the way, for midfielders, it does add up because of the fantastic creative threat, because of how good he is from set pieces. Also, we've seen last season in particular, the direct free kicks are fantastic. This man will accumulate points. But I do not believe you're going to get many goals from him over this period. Even with the slightly easier fixtures, I still think there are going to be better players in terms of goal threat. So what do you look for in an asset? Do you want multiple routes to points? He does have it. He's got a brilliant long shot on him, set pieces, some open play creativity. He'll get you defcon every now and again. Is Declan Rice in the best 3 Arsenal assets? That's probably the key question you should ask yourself. I still don't think so. Gabriel is absolutely the best Arsenal asset. Then it is probably Timber. And then at that stage, yeah, Bukayo Saka is a better asset than Declan Rice. But for those of you that either, again, can't get the third Arsenal defender and don't want to triple up on the Arsenal defence, and maybe can't afford Saka in your team, then why not go for Declan Rice at that point? Worst case scenario, you feel like you want to get Saka in the future, there's a couple of transfers to change it, or just do Rice directly up to him. I kind of don't really have too many negative things to say. I suppose when you're comparing him to someone like Ismail Assar at a slightly cheaper price, Ismail Assar has 4 times the goal threat of Rice. He sits around 0.45, 0.5 non-penalty expected goals. So with Rice, you have great creativity, set pieces, more likely to get defcon than Sarr, but Sarr is showing you 4 times the goal threat. That's what you then need to weigh up in your mind. So I guess I'll give Declan Rice a thumbs up. If I was rating him as an asset, I'd say like a 7.5, 8 out of 10. I'm not going to massively put you off. I certainly think you should consider him. But for me, if I was choosing between Rice and Sarr, as I had to this week, I'm going for Ismail Assar. So guys, very briefly, because I don't want to take you away from the video for too long, but I've actually created a new YouTube channel, which so many of you are already subscribed to and already supporting, and I can't thank you enough. But just very briefly, it's called GeoRaptor, and it's basically for a combination of geography content, because I find it very interesting. Things like today, actually, I uploaded a video, can I name all 197 countries in 15 minutes? I won't ruin the video in case you want to go watch it, and I will link that down below. But fun quizzes and challenges like that. I want to do the flags. I want to try and name the US states without borders, things like that. And also, I love GeoGuessr. I've been playing for a little while now, so I've started some GeoGuessr content, and I'm doing a road to the Master Division. So if you like geography, if you like fun quizzes, or if you like GeoGuessr, or if you just want to support me, by the way, I would really appreciate it. If you don't know what GeoGuessr is, by the way, it's so interesting. You're just dropped into random locations within the world, and you have to guess where you are, and then just try and select where you are on the map. So even if you're not into it, so many people have decided after watching my video that they're going to give it a go. So yeah, please do go check it out. It's called GeoRaptor. I'll link my channel down below. I'll try to link this video down below as well, which you can feel free to check out. If you want to support me, I'd really appreciate it. Now let's get back to the FPL video. So let's move on to a discussion that I'm very happy to have, which is Manchester United players. And I didn't think I'd be discussing actually buying or owning Manchester United players anytime soon. But things change very quickly in FPL. Only a few weeks ago, it was how good Liverpool are and how bad Manchester United are. The narrative has now flipped on that. And we won't be discussing Liverpool today, but maybe I will later this week. But on Manchester United, obviously in quite a nice run of form, 3 wins on the bounce in the Premier League. It's been well documented. Let's see if they manage to hit that 5 wins in a row. But also the data that's been put up all season long, even from the very first game, has been quite impressive. And especially the attacking data. Like defensively, Man United is still 16th for XGC this season. So still a fixture to target for your attackers. But Man United are putting up the numbers. And it does, in the last 3 games, genuinely feel like it started to click. If you're a Manchester United fan, you would have seen that. Sesko as the 9 is doing such a brilliant job of just blending it all together in the attack. And Mbeumo and Cunha are just an absolute joke. Like, I keep sitting there watching Manchester United thinking, how on earth do these 2 players play for Manchester United? They almost feel too good based on what we've seen in recent years. And then obviously you've got one of the most creative players in world football, if not the most creative player in world football, in Bruno Fernandes behind them. It's just all starting to come together in terms of the attacking data. Now, you don't want to get carried away. Lots of people just say Man United stink. They've done so for 10 plus years now. Just avoid them, and that's absolutely fine. But obviously, Bryan Mbeumo is turning quite a few heads now because he is doing everything you could want from an FPL asset. And then you've got Bruno Fernandes that a lot of people still own, are wondering whether they should be patient with, wondering whether they should move from Fernandes to Mbeumo. But I'm also getting people saying, I might buy one of them this week. Is Bruno still a better option, or do we go for Bryan Mbeumo instead? So I think they are both good options. I also think they're both overpriced. Bruno Fernandes in particular, he just isn't worth 8.9 million. That isn't me saying he's a bad asset, because you guys know that I love him. He's probably still on penalties, on set pieces, getting big chances, playing in an attack that are creating chances. He's so good for baseline bonus. Like ridiculous levels of baseline bonus. He could get, as we've seen, a single assist and comfortably achieve 3 bonus. That's massive. That means that often it's a 6-point assist because he gets the assist points and the bonus points. So there is so much to like about Bruno, and his minutes are brilliant, but you still need more for 8.9 million. He's got basically the same attacking data as Declan Rice if we're talking about total non-penalty expected goal involvement. Obviously, again, does probably still have the penalties, but you need more for that price. So I don't think Bruno's worth it. Mbeumo's certainly closer to being worth the price, but I go back to someone like Ismail Assar or Enzo Fernandez or even Iliman Ndiaye, who is on penalties. Maybe not as great of a data, but playing for a decent attack, decent fixtures. I look at all of those other players and think, Like Brian Mbeumo is 1.5 to 1.7 million more than some of those players. So I think they're both slightly overpriced, but like I say, Mbeumo better value. In terms of the fixtures, they're good, not great. I actually think that when I looked at them for this graphic, they're slightly worse than I remember them being. Like, there's 3 away fixtures in the next 4. Manchester United's attacking data is better at Old Trafford. So immediately, I don't like 3 away games. They're going away to Sean Dyche's Nottingham Forest. This is not the same Nottingham Forest that we've seen for the rest of the season. Against Bournemouth, who are a good attack, they limited Bournemouth to 0 big chances immediately. They kept a clean sheet in Europe as well. Like, this is a different team now. That's not a good fixture particularly. You've then got Spurs away, and Spurs are 3rd in the Premier League. Like, their defensive data is not great, but again, going away to Spurs, I don't love that. Everton at home's good fixture. Crystal Palace away, again, going to Selhurst Park. They're not the best defence. We spoke about that recently, but not a great fixture. And then West Ham at home at the moment looks fantastic. So I'm not trying to put you off of the fixtures, but just because there are no red or pink or dark red fixtures in there doesn't mean that they're necessarily great. When we then compare the two, so Bruno Fernandes versus Brian Mbeumo, obviously Fernandes 0.7 million more. Brian Mbeumo is the better value asset right now. Absolutely. Like, if they were the same price, I certainly think there's a conversation to be had. But considering the 0.7 saving and how much that can give you in FPL at the moment, like, that could allow you to get up from like Lequart to Munoz. That's a huge upgrade overall. Or it might allow you, I don't know, to go for Mateta rather than Walter Marder, that extra money, which again, I think is an upgrade. Like, that is quite a lot of money right now. I think it's Mbeumo because everything apart from, I still think Bruno's on penalties, points towards Mbeumo being the better asset. Eye test wise, Mbeumo's elite. He's so much further forward than Cunha. He's really like, you can actually see by his touch map just above my big head getting in the way of it. But you can see, yes, he plays on the right, but look at all of those touches in the box. Look at Bruno's touch map. Yes, it's good, but he's also not getting into the box as much. Like, Mbeumo, eye test wise, is passing it. FPL points per 90, more. Expected FPL points per 90 is actually slightly less. I've messed up that graphic there, but very similar. Non-penalty expected goals, 0.34 for Mbeumo. And then expected assists, 0.24. Fernandes has 0.2 and 0.18. So what I'm telling you here is Mbeumo passes the eye test more, has better non-penalty expected goals, and has better creativity in terms of expected assists. And Mbeumo is doing everything slightly better than Bruno right now, other than, again, penalties and DEFCON. Like, Bruno is very, very good for DEFCON. I've not even looked recently, actually. Let's have a quick look at Bruno Fernandes' DEFCON. It was sitting just below 12 per 90 last I looked. So it's 10.91. So Bruno's not going to hit DEFCON every single week, but again, that will tally up. If he can hit it 15 to 20 times this season, that will add up across a long period of time. If they were identical prices, I would say you could certainly make an argument to have Fernandes instead. But I think if you're buying afresh now, Brian Mbeumo, not just because of the haul last week, is the better value asset. The final question then to answer is it worth selling Bruno Fernandes to Brian Mbeumo? My opinion on this is if you are using the 0.7 million in the week that you make the move, yes, I would happily sell Bruno to Mbeumo to go and fund a big upgrade. Like, if that is the only way that you can get João Pedro to Mateta, and then maybe, I don't know, Paquetá up to Sarr or something like that. Like, if you can get some good upgrades in the week that you make the move, I would get it done. Because, yeah, Bruno could outscore Mbeumo, and I still think he's a good asset, but it's worth it. If you are simply just asking, is it worth selling Bruno to Mbeumo and doing nothing else? No, because I think Bruno's perfectly fine as well. Hopefully I've answered all of your questions on that. All of that to say, they're both good assets. They're both slightly overpriced. I love the pair of them, but Brian Mbeumo is the one for me. So lots of people at the moment talking about Mateta, Walter Marder, Brian Mbeumo, Bukayo Saka, Daniel Munoz, lots of expensive players, and we do need to fund that somehow. And for a lot of people, maybe you've got a João Pedro in your team or a Gyökeres, but to go and get Saka or Mbeumo midfield, you actually need to downgrade the forward line quite a lot. And I do think that the two forwards right now, below the price of 6.5 million, that stand out to me are Thiago and Welbeck. Both of them have been returning and are both also putting up good underlying data. So the first thing to note, again, if you need a sub 6.5 million forward, for me, these two absolutely stand out. You do have players like Isidore, Foster if you wanted to. I mean, Fleming won and got a brace in Game Week 9. There are other cheap forwards, but I would certainly try to stretch these if you do need to go down to the cheaper prices. In terms of Thiago versus Welbeck, the short of it is I actually think they're both great and there's not much in it. So if you have a big preference yourself, I'm not going to try and say that either of these are bad assets. Fixtures-wise, I actually think across the next 4, I probably prefer Thiago's, but considering in 14 Thiago then plays Arsenal, across the next 5, they're very similar. I actually think Danny Welbeck's aren't as good as they first look. Leeds are the 3rd best defence in the league this season. I keep telling people this because I want people to understand how well Leeds have defended in terms of reducing their opponents to creating very little. So Leeds at home looks good, but it's not as good as it first looks on paper. And they've got Crystal Palace away. Again, going to Selhurst Park is never easy. They then obviously play against each other, by the way, Thiago and Welbeck in Game Week 12. Then it's Forest away. And I just said in the Manchester United section, that's not necessarily an easy fixture now. And then Villa at home. Villa are a team traditionally are better at Villa Park themselves, but they are on the up and they are improving. I think they've had like 4 or 5 wins in the bounce in the Prem. So, yeah, I don't necessarily think Brighton's fixtures are great, but again, Thiago's aren't either. He has to go to Selhurst Park. He then plays Newcastle, who are the 2nd best defence of the league. So they both play Crystal Palace away in the next 2. One plays the 3rd best defence of the league, and the other plays the 2nd best. They've got Arsenal in there as well. The only good fixture there really for Thiago across the next 5 is Burnley. So neither of these players stand out in terms of desperately wanting to target the fixtures, but I don't also look at either of their fixture runs. And there are no weeks here other than 14 for Thiago that you'd say, oh, I really don't want to own my asset for that week. In terms of the underlying data, like I say, both impressing me actually right now. So 0.35 non-penalty expected goals for Thiago, 0.42 for Danny Welbeck. So slightly higher for Welbeck. And then expected assists, 0.02 for Thiago, 0.08 for Danny Welbeck. So Danny Welbeck up at 0.5 non-pen XGI. In terms of penalties, we know very clearly now that Thiago is first choice penalty taker. I would still predict that Danny Welbeck is for Brighton, but I'm pretty sure the only penalty Welbeck's taken this season was in Game Week 2, which he missed, at least in the Premier League. So I still think he'd be first choice. Like, when you saw him step up and put that free kick top bins against Manchester United, and that's not the first time in recent. I think last season, was it against Forest? There was a free kick that Welbeck put top corner again. I can't remember the exact game. Let me know down below if you remember. But Welbeck can clearly take a free kick. So taking direct free kicks, like, he's got that kind of main character energy right now. He started 90 minutes on the bounce 3 games in a row. So as much as it says his minutes per game here is 60 minutes this season, the last 3 his minutes have been great. So I think Welbeck takes pens, but at least with Thiago, you know. In terms of general fitness, Danny Welbeck looks fit right now. Like, he's running to the last second. But we know across the last couple of seasons, there have been spells where he struggled with his fitness and his injury record. So I guess what I'm saying is, I think they'll both have good minutes, but Thiago's fitness, I think, is slightly more reliable. I think they both have penalties, but again, I think Thiago's penalties are slightly more reliable. Fixtures-wise, I don't think there's much in it. So I think considering the 0.2 saving, I would maybe marginally, and very marginally, lean Thiago. But if this was more of a short-term punt, you are happy to accept that there's a chance he gets injured because of his age, and no disrespect to Danny Welbeck, and also you don't know that he's definitely on penalties, then maybe you do just go for Welbeck. Welbeck certainly feels right now like he could have the higher ceiling, but then you swing around to Game Week 13, and I'd be very happy to have Thiago in my team. I suppose it also depends who your other attackers. Are you bringing this player in when you've got someone like King in your 11 and you have to start them every week? Or can you rotate them in and out? Because if you can rotate them in and out and actually you don't have to play Thiago in 11 or 14, then absolutely go for him. On the same page, if you don't have to play Danny Welbeck for his more difficult fixtures, then maybe you could go for him instead. So I'll leave it with you. I don't like to sit on the fence too much in these videos, but I will sit on the fence here because I think they're both great assets. But I wanted to draw your attention to them if their attacking returns hadn't already done that. Say I like them both. If you were to force me right now, I'd probably lean Thiago. So guys, I saw this graphic on social media and I just had to share it with you. It's courtesy of Rob T FPL, and I say it several points throughout the season. If you're not following Rob on social media, I highly recommend it. He's part of the Solio Analytics team and he just creates these fantastic graphics that are just really clever. Not only do the graphics look fantastic, but every week he just pulls some really crazy fun stats out. And every week he also sums up the market odds just before the deadline as well. So highly recommend following him. And he's also always very happy for us to use the graphics in the videos, which I do appreciate. So for those of you that are listening, I'll try to read out what this is and talk about some of the players. He did this for the midfielders as well, but I was very interested in the defender graphic. What you've got on the y-axis is the XGI per 90, so attacking threat. And then on the x-axis, which is the horizontal one, we've got defcons per 90. So in an ideal world on this graphic, with obviously XGI per 90 going up on the y-axis and defcons per 90 going up along the x-axis, what you want is a player to be in the top right of the graphic. If they're in the top right of the graphic, it means they are hitting high defcon per 90, which is fantastic, and they're also showing a lot of attacking threat. The first thing to note is there isn't anyone right now that does everything that you'd want, that has really, really good attacking threat and also has really good def comp 90, which is good, because if there was someone that was absolutely right in there, then they would 100% be the player to pick in FPL. What I found immediately quite interesting is Gabriel doesn't stand out here. Now, I do think he's better in the air than the average player, which means he doesn't need as many high XG chances, but maybe this does show that he's been slightly fortunate to get as many attacking returns as he has over the last couple of weeks. But you kind of would expect, like, Gabriel's been getting defcon. Gabriel's such a monster in the air. You kind of think that Gabriel would be top right. I would say the players that are closest to being top right, if I was to select a few, is it maybe Joachim Andersen here? Like, Andersen is, at the moment, looks like he's averaging about 11 def comp per 90. He's averaging over 0.15 XGI per 90 as well. Like, Joachim Andersen is pushing towards that top right. You can see Senesi and Richards very high up on the def comp, decent in terms of attacking threat, but maybe lower down on the attacking threat. And then the other players that stand out are probably Gay and Munoz. Gay's had really decent attacking threats so far this season, but you can see that his def comp per 90 has not been that of the likes of Lacroix and Richards. And then Munoz, even more attacking threat, but even lower in terms of def comp per 90. And I found this because I was getting lots of questions this week about Crystal Palace defenders, which is why I wanted to show you this. It kind of perfectly encapsulates the decision that you have to make. If you want defcon, Richards and Lacroix are virtually identical. And obviously Richards is like 0.6 cheaper. So you go for Richards. Like, so if you're going for the defcon guy, it's absolutely Richards. And by the way, Richards is being rested on Wednesday, or is not involved in the squad because apparently he has a small issue. But Glasner said that he thinks he will be fine for the weekend. So I just bought Richards in on Sunday night as an early transfer. So I'm hoping Richards is fine, but keep an eye on his fitness. But yeah, Richards is the defcon guy. Lacroix is also great for defcon, but too expensive considering he's got lower goal threat. And then you've got Gay and Munoz, who show more attacking threat, but less defcon. When I look at this, so far Gay has probably been the value asset, but I just can't help but love Munoz. Like, he's not showing bad defcon per 90, but he's right up there as the second best for attacking threat this season. The only player that's had more attacking threat is Yuri and Timber. So in terms of the Palace defenders, I still think Richards offers the best value, but I think Munoz is, of course, the best. And this is why I've not gone for Gay, because he's sort of in that awkward in-between where he's not the cheapest, he's not got the most gold threat, he's also not got the most defcon, he's in that really awkward in-between stage, which is why, again, I opted for Richards. Timber and Calafiori, showing you what they're all about here. Really high attacking threat. Two of the three most attacking defenders in the league so far, but they're also not averaging very good defcon. Like, Calafiori's averaging less than 5 defcon per 90. Timber is just over the 6 mark, it looks like on this graphic here. So the two of them are going to get lots of clean sheets. Attacking returns are great, but you're not getting defcon from them very often. Not that you necessarily need it. So if I was to look at this graphic right now and use only this to help me decide who the best defenders to bring in were, Senesi, Andersen, and Richards stand out as defcon guys that also have some attacking threat, and then Munoz and Timber would be the two that you pair them with. So that back five there, Timber, Munoz, Richards, Andersen, Senesi. When you also take into account clean sheet potential, plus how brilliant he is in the air, obviously Gabriel goes in. So I guess if I was to name my top 5 defenders right now, Gabriel, Timber, Munoz, bit boring, Richards and Andersen, probably. You can also chuck, like, Mukiele, by the way, deserves a shout out here because I think he's the only, like, super cheap one he is on this list. And of course, like we say, brilliant defcon. He's not had awful attacking threat, and Sunderland have been pretty decent. You can, of course, chuck the legend of Game Week 9 in, although I benched him, Joe Rodon as well. Also deserves a shout out. But yeah, I thought this was a fantastic graphic, at least got us talking, and hopefully that helps with that discussion around the Palace defenders. For me right now, my defence is Gabriel, Senesi, Andersen, Richards, and Rodon. I don't know what that counting was, but you can understand why I'm very, very happy with that. As a result, let me know what your defense looks like and let me know which Palace defenders you are looking at. So guys, I don't want to waste your time too much with this today because there aren't actually that many players right now that are at risk of suspension, but we are approaching that point of the season now where a lot of people forget that we do have the risk of suspension when you hit 5 yellow cards. And of course, players are naturally approaching that. We've had the likes of Dewsbury Hall who have already served the suspension. And that's great, by the way, if players can get it out the way. To remind you, once a player reaches 5 yellow cards, they are suspended for 1 Premier League game. After the team that the player plays for has played 19 Premier League games, so for example, once Crystal Palace as a team have played 19, this is then extended to 10 yellow cards, and they pick up a 2-game suspension when they hit 10. So basically, a lot of these players that are on 3 yellow cards right now have a very good chance of picking up a couple more and as a result being suspended. But these players do start to know this and maybe defend in a slightly different way. What I'm going to be super interested in, and one of the main reasons that I wanted to briefly chat about it now, something that someone spotted, and I'm struggling to find the tweet, so apologies if it was you. Someone said that they feel like when players pick up yellow cards, their DEFCON just drops off for that game. And it kind of makes logical sense, right? If you're a footballer and you pick up a yellow card, especially as a defender, you're not going to be flying into tackles constantly. It just makes no sense because you don't want to risk picking up a second yellow. Even things like clearances, blocks, interceptions, you just can't be as aggressive in your defending when you've picked up a yellow. Now, as a result, if a player hits 4 yellows, obviously they can still get yellow carded in a game, but they reach suspension. I do wonder whether some of these defenders, when they hit their 4th yellow, whether they will start to get less DEFCON. Maybe someone will be able to track it. Regardless, the reason I wanted to bring this up, let's read out the players that are on 4 and 3 yellow cards of note. On 4 yellow cards, there's no one really of massive note that people will own. Nico Williams is on it. The reason I'd suggest him is if he hits that 5th and serves the suspension, I do think we'll be looking at Forest defenders very soon, just because Sean Dyche is that guy. So maybe he'll become an option. And then Garner, if you have him as a cheap asset. But no, I think Adams was the only other one I didn't even bother putting on the graphic. 3 yellow cards, though. There are a lot of players that are 2 yellow cards away. I would not in a million years advise that you don't bring a player in on 3 yellow cards. When it becomes 4, that's your own decision to make. But at 3, still bring them in. That's absolutely fine. But Calafiori on 3, Senesi on 3, Munoz on 3, Burn. So 4 really worthwhile defenders to own in all fairness. And then 5 attackers, Paquetá, Anthony, Grealish, Xhaka, and actually Thiago. There's always a forward one season that picks up quite a few yellows. Recently, it's been Nicholas Jackson. I think last season hit 5 yellow cards in like 6 games or something ridiculous. So yeah, I would keep an eye on these. Don't avoid bringing them in, but we are approaching that point of the season where each week when you're looking to bring players in, certainly check how many yellows they're on and at least start to think about if that should impact your decision or not. So guys, there we have it. That is my complete Game Week 10 guide. Hopefully that's been helpful for you, and hopefully today we've discussed some things that haven't been discussed recently. A lot of the same players and questions have been popping up, so I tried to discuss some slightly different topics and players today. So if you found that helpful, you found it informative, you found it entertaining, please do smash that like button and make sure to subscribe as well. As I said earlier on in the video as well, if you're looking for some more content today and you've watched all of my FPL stuff, please do check out GeoRaptor. I'll link the channel down below. I'll link one of my videos down below as well. It would really help me if you just give the video a watch, see if you enjoy the content, and if you do, subscribe there as well. Until next time, thank you very much. Bye-bye.